Greetings and namaste. Yeah, cuz went on ahead and requested this personally. They didn't necessarily request where I do this segment, but they definitely requested this information. And to the person that requested this, I wanted to send a shout out to you because you definitely in tune with me. Because I swear, when you sent me that text message in reference to putting out this information, before you sent that text message, I was on my way to do this. You just sent me this text message maybe about 20 minutes ago. And the topic you wanted me to do the video on is actually what this is about. The brother was asking about freedom and wanting to really understand like what it's going to take for him to become financially free. And I'm gonna first just kick it like this. Like, first you got to understand what you're even saying, because you have like you have like what's called freedom.
I don't have a mask because of these fucking kids.
And then you have what's called being rich. And then you have what's called being wealthy. And I'm not going to get too deep, but I want to just break those three things down first, because this is really in link and in connection with the number 6. Like, you can't talk about anything free until you go through the door of the number 6, because of course when you talk about freedom, you still have basic necessities and contracts that were made to survive, which is food, clothing, and shelter. There's 3 contracts that were made for your physical body to be able to sustain itself. You need certain clothing, certain food, and certain type of shelter or housing or some wall or something to house yourself in. So when you talk about wealth, well, that's just getting into the aspect of just understanding needs and necessities before we can even get into wealth. So you got needs and necessities. So when you talk about being free, you want to free yourself up from being forced to have to slave for that, because at some point you have to get that some kind of way, and then you having to get that creates a slavery, somewhat of like a slavery. So when a person is asking how do I become financially free, you're trying to break away from that dependent on slaving for that. So I mean, you got different options, of course. But most people, they gonna think about turning into some money, of course, turn into a lump sum of money, or figuring out a way to get some money to where they don't have to work every day. And that's not going to necessarily free you up either when you get into that, because then you got to go into what's called Federal Reserve notes. So really, freedom is essentially learning to master the clock to be free. I probably can't even cover wealth. I want to cover wealth because that goes into the number 6 and being rich, but I don't think I have time. So I'm just going to talk about freedom, what it means to be free. And freedom is mastering the clock or time, or what's called visa. When I talk about visaing somebody, let's talk about mastering time. So you have to visa your way through these life situations. If you're going to become free, and free yourself up from the prison that we're in, you have to master time and how they visaing you through time, meaning that every time it's 1 clock is ending or one day is ending somewhere, there's a new day beginning. So you'll have to learn how to make portals out of each time zone as it opens and closes, and begin to essentially build up what's called like a bridge, so that you can connect these time zones together to truly master freedom. Because there's gimmicks, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut down. This guy, he hit me onto this. He gave me a whole wardrobe, right? He gave me a wardrobe probably worth about $500 one time, right? When I was down and out, this dude dropped me off brand new clothing. Worked at a clothing store, and he was like, but he was into investments, and he was like, yeah. I was like, I thank you for giving this to me. I think I said something like, man, it was, what I'm saying, you gave this to me for free, I didn't have to pay anything. He was like, no, it's not free. And he's like, I'm not saying that because I'm going to tax you, but you have to learn about the fact that you're a walking commodity. So anytime someone gives you something as a walking commodity, or anything that you're even wearing, not even when they give you something, this is a form of it could be a treasure, of course, a form of wealth. Like, say for you were carrying gold, it could be a lien. You could be carrying around a tax lien, but essentially it's not free. So you have to learn how to visa everything on you, essentially, and learn how to put everything on you into a proper perspective. so that you can learn how to like get out of the scenario of thinking that you free or you don't have to come up, because it's not about money is what I'm essentially getting. Now we'll talk about money as we get more deeper into these episodes, but essentially you got to master time and master visa, and then from there you got to master freedom. You have to come up with your own form of a, once you master visa, come up with your own visa card, turn yourself into like a visa card, right, and begin to visa yourself and exchange yourself and your energy and your creative energy, and you visa and you exchange that on Wall Street on the New York Stock Exchange and offer credit and turn your so-called free into credit, and then credit, you know, of course, turns into currency, and then with currency you can invest and get more creativity or more abundance. So we'll get into wealth, like understanding wealth. I just say this, and understanding being rich. Like, to being rich, I mean, we'll say this: being rich is like you can eat a food that's rich, and if you can afford it all the time, you can be considered rich. Because being rich is just having a certain taste, or having a certain, even a certain prowess. Even when you could be, you know what I'm saying, rich on like a, say for instance, on a metaphysical level, you may have certain metaphysical knowledge and wisdom. This means you are rich, or even wealthy even. But wealthy goes into more of a bloodline, and either tying yourself to a bloodline or proving that you visa this bloodline out so that you don't have to pay any kind of tax to even visa. Wealthy is the top level. So you can master freedom and get above freedom, proving that everything that you have in your possession, your house, your home, and everything has been totally visa and cleared. You don't owe any Native American, any taxes on anything. This is true wealth. And we'll talk more about that in the coming episodes. So thank you for watching. I'm going to go ahead and shut down. I got a lot to do today. And I thank you guys for being patient with me on this particular segment. I'm going to come back with a lot more. Like I said, we're going to go more into help you to understand wealth, and then the alien races, of course, as well. Tying into what we was talking about on the previous episode. Help you to understand more of the alien races and how they connect with the sexual experience. And how all of this really is connected together as a true lifestyle that really what us as indigenous people of this land was supposed to be living a certain lifestyle, and the fact that we got out of it was because we lost our rhyme and our reason with numbers and our understanding and being able to communicate as a language through numbers and symbols. We've lost that now. So this is what really why we got trapped into these spells. You know, speaking of money, religion, and sex, you got to master the 6. I'll be coming back at you with more. Thanks again. Namaste. Good vibes.